Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Shorvan Shengupta and today we'll discuss kingdom Protista. Now in our previous video, we started the 5 kingdom classification and discussed kingdom Monera in detail. Now today we'll discuss the second kingdom of the under the 5 kingdom classification, kingdom Protista. Now, important features of kingdom Protista include that there are a highly diverse group of eukaryotic, mostly unicellular organisms that are primarily aquatic. There are a highly diverse group of eukaryotic, mostly unicellular organisms that are primarily aquatic. They're mostly simple eukaryotes. Now, because they're eukaryotes, they have a membrane-bound nucleus with a nuclear pore complex. Most of these organisms are unicellular, some are colonial. Mostly they are motile, some are non-motile. Motile organisms may have cilia or flagella for motility. Some also have pseudopodia, that is false feet. They have diverse modes of nutrition, that is, they may have autotrophic mode of nutrition or heterotrophic mode of nutrition, as well as mixotrophic mode of nutrition, that is, encompassing both autotrophic and heterotrophic modes of nutrition. That is called mixotrophic nutrition. So they might be autotrophic, heterotrophic, as well as mixotrophic. Reproduction in protistans is mainly asexually via binary fission. Multiple fission and budding are also present. Sexual reproduction occurs in some species under stress involving meiosis and syngamy. Now, if we take a look at the subgroups of kingdom Protista, first come the chrysophytes. These are also known as the golden brown algae or golden algae. There are a large group of microscopic photosynthetic protists found primarily in freshwater, although some occur in marine habitats. There are a large group of microscopic photosynthetic protists which are found primarily in freshwater, although some, like especially the diatoms, occur in large quantities in marine habitats. They have a large variety of photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll, A, C, carotenoids like beta carotene, and xanthophylls like myxoxanthin, diatoxanthin, diadinoxanthin, fucoxanthin, etc. They may be unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. They usually have a cell wall which is sometimes highly ornamented and even impregnated with silica, forming siliceous deposits. Examples include the diatoms, which are the most well-recognized group and recognized for the soapbox shell structure made up of silica. Now, these diatoms have a big soapbox-like shell structure composed of two overlapping halves known as the epitheca and the hypotheca, which are composed of silica. When these diatoms they form the basis of the marine food web. Often they're abundant in marine habitats, unlike most of the others like desmids, which are primarily found in freshwater habitats. And the diatoms, they store their reserve food as oil. Now, when these diatoms die, they get deposited in the bottom of the ocean as siliceous pustules containing a lot of oil. Over time, this oil undergoes fossilization under sediments to form fossil fuels like petroleum. These siliceous structures are also known for forming diatomaceous earth, which is a very inert carrier and often used to carry various chemicals like trinitrotoluene, etc., which is an explosive. The desmids are also included in this group and are referred to as a golden brown algae. Together, diatoms and desmids are known as the jewels of the biological world because of their beautifully ornamented appearance. And there's class Chrysophyceae, the primary group of organisms falling under the golden algae classification. These are some examples of class of chrysophytes. Here we have Dinobryon, which is which belongs to the class Chrysophyceae. Then Microsterius radiata, which is a desmid, and you can see why they are called the jewels of the living world, because they they're so beautiful they appear like jewels. And there is a marine sample of diatoms. You can see the huge variety and of diatoms as well as their unique shapes and sizes. And these are the references from which I got these pictures. The second group includes dinoflagellates, which are a highly diverse group of eukaryotic microorganisms, primarily marine plankton that are characterized by two flagella used for spinning motion. These are characterized by two flagella used for a spinning motion. Now, many of these dinoflagellates are armored with cellulosic plates called theca, or they may be naked with a complex covering called an amphiesma. They're motile, utilizing the two distinct flagella to move through the water. Now, because they have two distinct types of flagella in the same cell, they are known as heterotrophic. They may be autotrophic or heterotrophic with respect to their mode of nutrition, or they even may employ mixotrophy. As for types, their mode of reproduction, they primarily reproduce by asexual binary fission, though sexual reproduction also occurs. Now, they have immense ecological significance in that, firstly, they form the base of the food web. Secondly, they are known for producing bioluminescence. Certain beaches and coastal areas across the world are known for their harboring these bioluminescent dinoflagellates, which glow at night when the water around them is disturbed. Now, they are also known for producing massive algal blooms called red tides, in which they can color the water red with their abundance. And they are also known for producing toxins, very potent toxins, which can accumulate through the food web to enrich humans and cause severe cases of food poisoning. For example, ciguatera poisoning caused by ciguatoxins produced by Gambidiochus toxicus, which is an algae that is a dinoflagellate that is found in coral reefs, and as it accumulates through the food web from small fish to larger fish, it passes into the food of humans, and where it causes ciguatera fish poisoning. Another example is diarrhetic shellfish poisoning caused by consumption of shellfish which grow in water containing the toxin producing dinoflagellates. Now, they are also well known for their symbiosis. They in coral reefs, they live in symbiosis with the corals and are called zooxanthellae. In fact, the color of coral leaves is derived from the color of these algae. The coral itself has a bleach white, has a fully white skeleton. Now, when these corals are stressed by high water temperatures, they expel these algae and become colorless, a process which is known as bleaching. When the conditions become favorable, the, if the conditions become favorable in time, within time they can accept the algae uh, and become colored again. But if the conditions remain warm for too long, they may lose the algae altogether and die. This process is known as coral reef bleaching, is responsible for destruction of coral reefs worldwide and is especially becoming prevalent with rising climate temperature, with rising water temperatures associated with climate change. Here are some examples of some dinoflagellates. First, we have a image of a dinoflagellate known as Serratium hirundinella, which is here you can see the typical structure with the two halves and the girdle running between the two halves and the flagellum emerging from a point in the girdle. Then there is a red tide caused or algal bloom caused by Noctiluca scintillans, another dinoflagellate, which also is responsible for causing bioluminescence. That is, Noctiluca scintillans is a dinoflagellate that glows in the dark when the water around it is disturbed. Then we have Pisteria piscicida, which is Pisteria piscicida, which is a dinoflagellate that is responsible for causing enormous fish kills in marine environments, and they feed from the skin of the fish of the dead fish, and Noctiluca scintillans under the light microscope. Then yellowish brown zooxanthellae, which as I mentioned before, are symbiotic protistans that occur within the cells of corals and impart the color to the corals. Without them, the coral turns white in color and is known as coral bleaching. If the conditions are favorable, the conditions become favorable within time. The coral accepts the zooxanthellae into its cells, and the color returns. Otherwise, it perishes. Now, coral reef bleaching, as I mentioned before, is an important ecological phenomenon that is happening again and again and on grander scales because of high rising temperatures associated with climate change. These are the references to the images where I got them from. The third group of kingdom Protista includes the euglenoids, which are a diverse group of single-celled eukaryotic flagellated microorganisms. Single-celled eukaryotic flagellated microorganisms. They are primarily freshwater plankton, and they mostly occur in eutrophic waters or highly polluted waters. They are characterized by one or two flagella, mostly one. Structure, as for structure, they do not have a cell wall. Instead, they are covered in a proteinaceous pellicle. Now, they may be autotrophic or heterotrophic with respect to their mode of nutrition, or they might employ autotrophic and heterotrophic modes of nutrition simultaneously, and this is called mixotrophic mode. As I said before, this is called mixotrophic mode of nutrition. They reproduce primarily via asexually via binary fission, though sexual reproduction also occurs. They are crucial components of phytoplankton in eutrophic waters. Here are two examples of euglenoids. First, we have Euglena gracilis under the light microscope. Euglena gracilis is very important as a model organism. Hmm. And here we have another example of a euglenoid known as Phacus. As you can see in both the cases, the cell wall, there's no cell wall, but a sliced covering is visible, which is the proteinaceous pellicle. And in both the cases, you can see a flagellum emerging from the cell. Now, the fourth subgroup of kingdom Protista are the protozoans, also known as protozoa. Now, they're single-celled and lack a cell wall. That is, they do not have a cell wall, and they're completely heterotrophic mode of nutrition. They either consume other microorganisms or dead decomposing organic matter. Some are also parasitic, which leads us to a point that we'll discuss later, protozoa and human health, because certain protozoans are responsible for causing serious diseases of humans. Now, depending on mobility, they can be distinguished into various groups on the basis of how they move, the mode of mobility. First comes the sarcodinia or the amoebas, which move using temporary foot-like extensions called pseudopodia. Pseudopodium, the term literally translates into false feet. Then comes the group mastigophora or flagellates, which move using flagella. And the third group are the ciliates or ciliophora, which move using hair-like cilia. The fourth group includes sporozoa, which are non-motile in their adult stage. Now, all protozoans require moisture to survive and are hence found in damp terrestrial or aquatic, both freshwater and marine environments. Some live inside hosts as parasites and pathogens. Now, this brings us to the most important feature of protozoans, which is their relationship with human health. Various protozoans occur as pathogens of humans. Examples of diseases caused by protozoa include malaria, which is caused by Plasmodium, then amoebic dysentery, which is caused by Entamoeba histolytica, giardiasis, which is caused by Giardia, and sleeping sickness, which is caused by Trypanosoma and transmitted by the tsetse fly. Here are a few examples of protozoans. First we have the amoeba, which is well known for its pseudopodia, that is false feet. Which are foot-like. These are basically foot-like extensions by which the organism moves. Then this is Plasmodium falciparum in the ring stage inside its host, the RBC of mammals. Then we have the Trypanosoma, which, as I mentioned before, is responsible for causing sleeping sickness and is transmitted by the tsetse fly. Then Paramecium aurelia under the light microscope. And Giardia lambi, causative agent of giardiasis. These are the references to the pictures where I got them from. Now the fifth subgroup of kingdom Protista are the slime moths. Now these were formerly thought to be fungi, but they are actually protists. They do not have a chitinous cell wall. or store glycogen as storage material. They live as solitary amoeboid cells and or aggregate into massive multicellular nucleated single-celled organisms called plasmodia. They're mainly saprophytic. The body moves around putrefying, that is decomposing leaves and twigs, and nourishes itself on organic material in damp environment. Now, despite lacking a brain or a nervous system, they possess primitive cognition, allowing them to solve mazes, even navigate and optimize foraging. Now, they can move slowly as a mass, searching for food. Under favorable conditions, that is lack of food or moisture, unfavorable conditions, that is lack of food or moisture, they harden into a dormant stage known as sclerotium, or produce fruit bodies to release spores, which are basically the perinating structures via which they perinate over the hard times. There are two main groups of slime molds: plasmodial slime molds, which start as single cells but merge into one large multinucleated amoeba-like mass, and cellular slime molds, which remain individual amoeboid cells but aggregate into a slug-like colony to move and reproduce. This is now here are a few examples. This is the vegetative body of Physarium polycephalum, which is a slime mold that is known to have primitive cognition and navigating abilities, and is being studied for that purpose. These are fruit bodies of Conatrica nigra. As I mentioned before, fruit bodies develop under unfavorable conditions, that is lack of food or moisture. And this is an aggregation of Fuligosepta cells to form a soft mass. These are the references from which I got these pictures. Thank you. That's all for today. We discussed kingdom Protista in detail. Next will be kingdom Fungi. If you would like me to make videos on any topic, please comment and comment below. Also, please kindly consider liking and subscribing to the channel. That will help me a lot.